In this video, I'm going over the third boss on the Mythic Plus version of Halls of Infusion. I'll be going over exact mechanics and sharing the perspective of a tank, healer, and DPS so that no matter what role you play, you'll be able to clear this boss on higher keys. If you guys enjoy tips and tricks like this, be sure to subscribe to this channel and check out this content live on my Twitch channel. I'll put a link in the description below where I run Mythic Plus with the community. Now, do note, in this video, I'm only going over bosses. I did another video, link in the description below, where I go over the exact route you need to get to 100% and explain every mechanic for every trash mob, what to interrupt, what to stun, what to avoid. But for this video, let's dive right into the bosses. This is the third boss in Halls of Infusion, Khajin the Unyielding. Now for this boss, the entire time, we'll be looking very closely at my boss timers. For raids, I do use big wigs and little wigs for dungeons. Now, if you guys want access to any of the add-ons you see on screen, I do have them in our Discord, link in the description below. We have a guides and resources category where we post the best recommended add-ons, weak words, and so much more to help you succeed in Season 2 and 10.1. When we first start this boss, a few things to go over to help you understand how it all works. You'll see a few things on the screen that are very, very important. First of all, you've seen that everyone in your party will instantly get a debuff. Now, this is not dispellable, can't be cleansed. It is a debuff called Polar Winds. Now, this is just ticking damage every 1.5 seconds. Healers do note this is a pretty intensive healing fight. So DPS, make sure to use your health pots. If you got a warlock, health stones, defensives, help your healer out. And remember, it is not just the healer's job to keep you alive, but you're taking damage every 1.5 seconds because of that debuff. You'll also notice that throughout the room, there are these ice blocks. Now notice the difference. Some of them are cracked, some of them are whole. This is very important to understand with some of the mechanics that are coming up. Let's dive into the first mechanic. First thing you'll see on the timer right here is Frost Shock. This is an ability that will go on the tank. This is very similar to the Frost Shock that Shamans have. The moment it goes off, you will see that the tank will get a debuff, and instantly you can see our healer AJ Valdez, because he's a legend, cleanses it off. That's all you got to do. If you are someone in your party that can dispel, then dispel it off them as well. Next mechanic going off is called Frost Cyclone. This, in my opinion, is one of the most important mechanics, because I think this is probably going to be the biggest point of failure for most pugs, because not only if you screw it up will it kill the person it's targeted on, but you actually could lead to wiping your entire party. I'll explain why in a second. Basically how this works is the boss is going to pick anyone in the party, and she is going to turn in their direction and pretty much throw a tornado represented by a white circle on the ground in their direction. First of all, of course, as a player, you want to move out of that white circle so it doesn't one-shot you, but more importantly, you want to watch your positioning. Remember, you can bait this because it's targeted by where you're standing. Please be very careful. No one should be in between the boss and any of these ice blocks. Why? Because those tornadoes will actually hit the ice block. If it hits the whole ice block, it will make it cracked like these other ones that are over here. If it hits a cracked ice block, it will actually explode and do AoE damage to your whole team. This could actually lead to a wipe, especially on higher tyrannical keys. So you notice right now, our entire team is positioned perfectly. I'm shot calling, you can't hear it in this video. All you see is gameplay, but you see our entire team is either over here or me and AJ, the healer, on this side. We are not in between any ice blocks. We see that the cyclone is going off, the white circle. Unfortunately, our monk does not move in time, so he gets one shot by it. On a 17 tyrannical on week 3, not incredibly high of a key, but decently high for this early on in the season. It will literally one-shot you, so be sure to move. Next mechanic is another Frost Shock, which again, just needs to be cleansed, and we see that it's just on me for a few seconds, and it can just be dispelled, easy peasy. Big mechanic going off in the background. Now this one, especially from a tank perspective and a melee DPS perspective, I want to give you some tips. This is Hailstorm. If you are not behind one of these ice blocks, you will absolutely die. Now be very careful. You want to make sure, you see our whole team, we do this properly here. Our whole team goes behind one of the whole ice blocks. If you stand behind one of the broken ice blocks, the ice block, when Hailstorm explosion goes off, not only will it break the ice block, but again, just like with these cyclones, it will explode, doing AoE damage, and it will wipe your whole team. So when Hailstorm goes off here in a second, you're going to see a few things. Our team gets behind the ice block to line of sight. If you don't know what that term means, we're basically putting something in between us and the cast so it does not hit us. But you see, as a tank, I've done something very strategic here. I have been tanking this boss right next to this whole ice block the entire time. Why? So that when Hailstorm goes off, we're not running across the room. We're not having to go super far in order to get to safety for two reasons. One, the further we have to run, the higher chances we are of dying, but especially two, for melee, right? We've got a pretty heavy melee group here. We've got a melee healer, we've got a demon hunter melee, and we've got a monk melee, and then obviously as a tank, I'm a melee. So we've got 4 melee people. So by tanking the boss this close to this whole ice block, we're able to stay in the fight for a little bit. The cast is going off, but we're staying in, and then we're able to run to safety, and we're able to maximize our damage by keeping uptime. Honestly, I actually could have been tanking this a little bit closer, and I do that a little bit later in the fight. Another myth to break. Some people think this white circle that is around Hailstorm, if that is on the other side of the ice block, you will still get hit. I've come to be a myth buster. False. You notice that we are all standing within that white circle, but because we're behind the ice block, it does nothing to any of us. Now you notice that whole ice block is now broken, meaning I do not want to use the same block again. You might be looking, well, Susie, I don't see any more whole ice blocks. Do not fear. More will spawn throughout the fight. And as a tank, my number one job, I need to identify where those are, and I want to be moving towards them. So again, more mechanics are going off. Glacial Surge, we have not seen this yet. That is going to be a mechanic where she is going to put ice on the ground where it is pretty hard to see because the whole room is full of ice on the ground. But there will be a circle on the ground that immediately you just want to get out of melee. So you notice we get out of melee, but do note that that circle is going to move. It's going to change from a circle in the middle to more of a donut shape on the outside. So we got out of melee, and now we're running back into melee in order to stay safe. This will one-shot you on higher tyrannical keys, so be sure to get out. Now you notice right where the boss is, another whole ice block has formed. So I am being mindful. I'm going to keep the boss right here. We're going to tank it right here. You notice that our team, they baited the frost cyclone. It is not going to be hitting any of the ice blocks, which is exactly what we want. I got a frost shock on me. It got dispelled by the healer. Again, another Hailstorm goes off. Now we have options, but this one is very important to note because some people have a basic understanding of this mechanic where I just need to get behind a solid ice block and I will be safe. Half true. The reason is, and we're safe here, but I want to show you what could have been a really bad scenario. We've got two options here, right? Most of our team goes behind this ice block right here. By the way, pay no attention to the corporeal affix right here. That is an affix for this week. That is not actually part of the boss mechanic. We've got 2 ice blocks. Most of our team goes here, and Deco, the demon hunter, goes over here. Now, both of these are fine, but one thing I want you to pay really close attention to when making a decision which ice block I go behind. Notice over here in the top, there is a broken ice block here. Remember, when Hailstorm explodes, it's going to make that ice block explode as well, doing massive raid-wide damage. Not to the entire party. It is only within a small range, but if you are close enough to it, you will die. So for example, both of these right now are actually safe, but if this broken ice block had been somewhere around where my cursor is, meaning that when this Hailstorm goes off, even though we are behind the ice block to get hit from the Hailstorm, we still will take damage from the exploding ice block. So that is a split-second decision that you need to make when choosing what ice block to get behind. Now for here, we're safe behind both, but you'll notice at the last second, I almost kind of wonder, like, were we going to get hit by that? But thankfully, we were safe. Another Glacial Surge, we get out of melee. The corporeal is stunned. And you'll notice here, this was just really bad RNG. So be careful of this. I'm actually glad this happened because I can show it in the video. These ice blocks can spawn at a random time during Glacial Surge. So what you'll see happens to me here is Hailstorm happens here. We're safe. Glacial Surge is coming. Notice, there are no whole ice blocks here. Glacial Surge happens right now. I get out of melee. Now notice this. I turn around to run back in. There is no whole ice block here. But as I'm running back in, notice it spawns. it spawns as I'm running towards it, and I ended up actually getting stuck on it. Notice where I am. I'm stuck on the block, and the outer edge of Glacial Surge is there, and I got stuck and I couldn't move, and I ended up dying. So just take note of this. By the way, this is the best don't release weak aura you've ever seen. Take note of that, because that can happen to you while trying to run back to safety. A ice block can spawn in front of you. We get a battle res and nothing bad happens. We take a quick, I pop a defensive, Ardent Defender, we are good. Again, as a tank, I'm identifying where is the closest ice block to go. They're baiting frost cyclones away, and pretty much that's the fight. That is a rinse and repeat of the fight. As long as you bait the frost cyclones away, make sure to get behind safety. Don't get behind an ice block that has a broken one right next to it. Healers are doing lots of healing because of the taking damage of the passive. People are using defensives and all that. This fight should be able to be done with ease if everyone does everything correctly. Unfortunately, that's not normally the case in a pug, but if you guys are tired of doing pugs, that's why I want to encourage you to come join our community, Unity Gaming. I'll put a link in the description below. We started a really positive community where people are doing Mythic Plus raid teams together, and I want to invite you to come be a part of it. Link in the description below. Come check out this content live on Twitch, and of course, if you enjoy these tips and tricks, subscribe to this channel for more videos just like this. I appreciate y'all watching. Thanks to those who support on Twitch, and of course, also on Patreon. You guys are making these videos possible. I appreciate y'all. We'll catch you in the next one.